Hi there, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about makeup brushes, specifically for the face. I am not going to do a tutorial to show you how I use each makeup brush, but I will place it on my face and kind of give you an idea. Let me also share with you that I am not somebody who shops a lot anymore for makeup or makeup brushes. I kind of know what works for me and I just stick with that. I'm going to have a variety of high-end and drugstore to share with you today, and let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start right from the very beginning. I go back and forth between two different things when it comes to foundation. I can't really say which one I prefer more than the other, but I will share with you that I have been using the Sigma flat Kabuki F80 brush for years. This is also what my oldest daughter and my third daughter use to apply their foundation. They have tried other things like beauty blenders and other such products, and they have always went back to their Sigma F80. It is a favorite of mine. But recently, a few months ago, my business manager, Haley, shared with me how much she loved the SONYA KASHUK makeup sponge. I picked one up and I have been loving it. Now, what I have found out through my years of using my Sigma F80 brush as well as incorporating the beauty blender is I will use a beauty blender or now the SONYA KASHUK makeup sponge for a while, but then all of a sudden I'll go back. I don't know what it is, and I'm sure many of you can relate with me. Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't, and we just kind of go back and forth. But this is an all-time love, and I have really been loving this. I use this today with an Urban Decay All-Nighter foundation where I mixed two different shades. Let me just chime in that I've been playing a little bit with my foundation to see which one works better with filming, which one I look better in front of the camera with. I will zoom in the footage, and I've been comparing three different foundations, and currently I have to say that the Urban Decay All-Nighter has been my favorite for filming. So just wanted to chime that in. Let me also mention that everything that I share with you today will be linked in the drop-down box below. So Sigma F80 or SONYA KASHUK makeup sponge, which is what I use today. I've probably been using this the most lately. These are my current favorites. Let me also share with you that I always wash my sponge every single day, or the brush if I use it. If I am using anything liquid or cream or any wet consistency, I wash that brush or sponge every single day that I use it. I have found that Dawn dish soap works the best at washing makeup brushes and sponges. I keep a little bottle like this. It's just an empty recycled shampoo bottle that I got at a hotel, use it up, and I pour some Dawn in there. So immediately after I get done applying my foundation, I will wash it and let it air dry for tomorrow's use. If you do decide to pick up the makeup applicating sponge, you will want to make sure that you get it extremely wet. Often people don't get these wet enough. I let it sit under running water for a while before I squeeze it out, and then I apply my foundation in a dabbing motion. You don't want to wipe, you want to dab your foundation on. If using the Sigma F80, it's the same type of concept. It is more of a dabbing motion like that. It is not a swirling or a wiping. That is what I feel works best for me. It's also going to give you a little bit better coverage, I believe, and maybe a fuller foundation look, which is what I look for, especially working with the filming. Moving on to concealer brushes. This is for my wet concealer. This would be for under eye. I don't really use concealer on the face, pretty much just under eye, because I do use the full coverage foundation. The current under eye concealer that I am using has a doe foot applicator, so I will take that doe foot applicator and I will apply my under eye concealer, and then I take this Bare Minerals Maximum Coverage Concealer brush right here. I've used this for years, and I will tap that in under the eye in a motion like that. I use this very small E.L.F. concealer brush that I believe you can get for $1 if I need to go in up close to under the eye and do any detail work. So I do use these both on the daily, and I also wash them daily. I don't know what it is. I just don't like to use any of my makeup brushes that have touched a wet texture or consistency without washing it before the next use. This Bare Minerals concealer brush also has a mini version, which I will have linked below, but it also is already the small brush. Once I am all done applying my foundation and my under eye concealer, I like to set it. The very first thing I do is set my foundation, and I use a puff pad like this. It's really just a dupe for the Laura Mercier puff pad, which I believe you can buy these separate. I don't really think it's necessary to spend the money. I will have some really affordable ones linked below, but believe it or not, I actually dab on my loose setting powder to set my foundation. Many people use a brush, and I believe you have to do what works for you. I have extremely oily skin, therefore setting my foundation by pressing the powder in, some people would call it baking, but I don't actually ever powder it off or brush off any powder. I just push the loose setting powder into my foundation to set it where you can no longer even see the powder. To set my under eye concealer, I do use another finely milled setting powder, but it is not the same one that I use for my face. And no worries, everything that I use will be linked below alongside, whoop, can you see that? That finely milled setting powder is coming off of this. But everything will be linked in the drop-down box as well as on the blog post next to where or underneath where I put the brush. So you will know what I am using with each brush. But I take this and I swirl it in my setting powder. I tap it off. You have to love that. And then I go in and I dab with this Sephora Pro Airbrush Detail Brush in number 57. I do believe they've changed the handle of this brush and now it is black, but it is the same brush. Foundation and under eye concealer are applied and they are set with powders. Then I move on to contour. I use a couple things to do my contour and my bronzer. Let me just share that I do not bronze my whole entire face. I also do not feel that people need to do heavy contouring. I also think there's a lot to say about the shape of your face with how you contour. So what you watch on YouTube, you really need to apply it to your own face shape, but we could certainly do a video on that. I have a narrow, long, rectangular, or they would call it oblong face. So where I do my contour placement is going to be different than, let's say, somebody who has a round face or a square face. The best thing that you can do is maybe go to Pinterest and put in what face shape you have. Alongside that, you will want to put in contouring and highlight. So let's say you have an oblong face, you would put contour and highlight for oblong face, and that will bring up photos with instructions of where the placement should go. But I do contour when I am going to be in front of the camera. I love the NARS brush because I really feel it gives you the best definition for when you are contouring. How I use this brush is I go into a contour shade, not a bronzer shade, but a contour shade. Again, bronzer and contour are going to be two different things. So I will put the brush in there. I always tap off the excess. I think that's very important. It also will prevent fallout from your clothing or other parts of your face. I will use this NARS brush right here in the hollow, just to kind of carve out where I want that contour. I will do that on both sides, and then I will take it up here to do the same thing. I will also take it below my chin, and then I look straight at the mirror to soften my jawlines, because again, I have a long rectangular face. So what I want to do is I want to shorten my face, but because I don't have a long forehead, I really don't need to put it up at the top as it would show for somebody with an oblong face. Most people that have oblong faces have a long forehead. My length is more in this area of my face, not up here, and not so much down below. So that's another thing that you want to pay attention to. Because I don't have a long forehead, I choose to not apply it here, but I want to soften the angles of my face. I have a very angular face. Same with down here. I want to soften those angles on each side. And then I like to shorten the look of my face there. So that is the key. Again, you really have to work with your own face shape and structure. I think it's important, just like studying your body, to see what works best and complements your shape. It really works the same way with our face. We have to work with what we have, not be following what everybody else is doing. And I think that's really the thing that us ladies and us girls need to be careful with when we're watching YouTube videos, because they're not always specific for what is going to suit you, just like what somebody wears may not look good on your body. The other place that I use my NARS brush is right here on the sides of my nose. I don't have a wide nose, but I also don't have a straight nose. When you get down to the ball of my nose, it goes a little bit to the right. So doing the contouring right here on the two sides of my nose will help to keep it look more straight. Now, I'm not completely done with my contouring. This is when I'm going to move into my bronzer. I use this Sephora Professional Contour Blush and Bronzer Brush in number 43. I believe this brush has been discontinued. I think Marc Jacobs has one that's very similar. I'm sure it's quite pricey as well, but I love this brush, and I will definitely have the Marc Jacobs one linked below, and if I find any other ones in a lower price point, I will be sure to link those ones as well. I take this brush and now I move into the more bronzer color. So we use the contour shade, and now we are going to use the bronzer color. And I take my brush, I apply some bronzer, again I tap it off, and because this is going to cover more on the face than the NARS brush did, I start at the back and I want to blend where my blush is going to go and where my contour is. So I like this because it warms up just above the contour shade and it prepares me to apply my blush. Next, I will take this brush, again using the bronzer shade, and I will tap it in here because again, we are softening those angles that I have on my natural face shape. And I will do that on both sides. Again, I'm only working here to soften those angles. I don't want to apply the color in the center of my face because we want to keep the center of our face lit. I will also take this brush and make sure that my contour shade has been blended in right down here. You want to create shadow here. And it doesn't hurt also to actually bring it down a little bit like that, just to make sure everything is blended. The other tip that I have for you is don't forget your ears. You want to make sure that if you are applying contour and bronzer, you want to hit your ears as well because you don't want them to not blend. You don't want to have this contour and bronzer, this dark depth here, and then all of a sudden you have your white ears. So remember your ears as well, ladies. Next, I move on to blush, and I love this Real Techniques blush for blush placement. It's a little bit denser, it's not real big. I really love the taper effect of it. There's also a MAC Cosmetic blush brush that I love that I've used for years. I will have that linked below as well. I often think about picking it up, but I've been very happy with the brushes that I have been using, so I haven't taken the plunge. Let me also chime in that I do think it's important to choose brushes that complement the size of your features. Some people have larger features on their face, and this includes the eyes as well. Some people have smaller features. My features are smaller, therefore I want to use a smaller brush for a lot of the things that I do. A lot of the placement of cosmetic, I want to use a smaller brush for the smaller details. It's kind of like if you have a smaller framed body, having oversized accessories like an oversized handbag is just going to swallow you in. oversized chunky jewelry are just going to overtake you. You want to proportion things to you. If you are more petite or smaller framed, smaller boned, think of things in smaller accents. If you are a bigger person, maybe bigger bone, built more robust, throw on the hefty handbag, throw on the chunky jewelry. So things should be in proportion, and makeup application is no exception. I will put this in the blush shade, and then I will go right below my pupils, right where the apple of my cheek is. And I don't do the smile method. Just keep your face straight on or to an angle slightly to apply, but right below your pupils, right where the apple of your cheek is where you want to start applying your blush. And I like to do a tapping motion. You would have to be very careful with this because of it being dense. If you have a highly pigmented blush, it's really going to pack a punch with that color. So this is really for me to apply the blush where I want it. And then I take this very inexpensive Up and Up blush brush from Target. It's part of their Up and Up line. I don't know if they still carry it. I picked it up in the store and I love this brush. This is a little bit more airy than this one. You can see a little bit more compact. Then I take this just to kind of blend the blush, and I'm blending it so that it goes in with the bronzer and the contour that I applied. So you always want to blend. Your brushes are really key, and blending is so huge in everything to do with makeup application. Now I am moving on to my highlight. And when I say highlight, there's two different ways I look at highlight. There's one where I just want to highlight this whole area under my eyes. All of this area I want light to hit. That's not the same as giving yourself some highlight here so that you can have that golden glow or champagne glow, whatever color suits you the most. This brush here actually came with my contour and highlight kit by SMASHBOX. I will have it linked below. It has been my favorite brush to use to highlight. So when they sent this brush, it was perfect because they go together. I will take the brush and I will put it in the highlight, get my powder on there. Again, I will tap it off. And then I turn the brush to the side like that. I don't use it like that. I like to turn it to the side like this, and I start right here to give myself a little bit of that highlight just above the bone. And then as I come down here, I turn it to bring it in like this. And then I do a little bit of a sweeping motion. I will come up in here, and that will highlight that whole under eye area. Then I will hit it again, tap it off, and I will go up here and just give a little highlight to this part of my face. Then I bring it down my nose to highlight the center of my nose, and then I will do a little bit right here. And then I am done with that. That is just going to highlight those areas. Because I've always had oily skin, I don't like to add a lot of shimmer. I don't generally highlight with a sparkly highlight every single day, but if I'm going out like in the evening, I do like to put a little bit of the sparkly highlight here, or again, if I am in front of the camera, that looks really nice as well. Most days, if I wasn't doing any filming or I wasn't going out in the evening, I would just stop with this. But again, if I'm going out or I'm going to be filming, I move on to a more sparkly highlight. To add a champagne highlight, I use this Sigma Strobing Fan F42 brush. And I will just add some product, again, tap it off, and then I will apply it where I want that shimmer. Then I will also hit just the tip of my nose right here. And I don't want to put it above my lips right now because I don't want to get lipstick on it, but then I will also just swipe it back and forth across my upper lip line just to give that little bit of highlight. And that pretty much covers all the brushes or sponge that I use for my face every time I do my makeup. Again, most of these brushes I've used forever. I don't watch a lot of videos as to what other people are using. I like what I have, it works for me, and that's really where I'm at. So hopefully everything is still available. Don't forget, all the brushes will be linked, or if they are discontinued, I will link something similar. I will also link all of the makeup products that I've currently been using. If you go to my website and you click on the Shop My Favorites tab, there will be a little drop down and makeup will be on there. I really don't switch up a lot. Again, I'm pretty much a creature of habit. I rotate the same blushes. I always have my Holy Grail setting powder, but I will have all of that linked below. And again, if you need to resource those links from the website because maybe I don't have enough room in the drop-down box, there will be instructions down there to get to everything that you want to get to. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned. I am going to do a follow-up video where I share all of the makeup brushes that I use, and then I will move on and do a very short video for lips because I do have a couple different brushes that I use for that as well. But again, it's really paying attention to the size of your face, the shape of your face. Again, if you have a petite featured face, you want to go with more petite or compact brushes, and it will be the same with your eye makeup brushes. You have to pay attention to your skincare because again, a lot of people would use a loose setting powder with a brush, but I just break through that so quickly with the oil. I guess what I'm getting at is you always have to make sure it is tailored to you. Also, don't hesitate if you pick up brushes, save your receipt. If something's not working for you, these cosmetic companies stand behind their products and would be more than happy for you to find something else, hopefully in their line. But it's important that you are sticking with the things that work for you, and if something doesn't, return it and pick up something different. That's always my thoughts on making sure that your whole arsenal is something that serves you. All right, enough of that. We will see you soon in the next video. Have a good day. Take care.